Hey everybody, here we are again. It's our bi-monthly report that Phina and I do. Shivoso here, right? And Phina Kemper. And we're gonna
Mhm.
do we got this really incredible full moon action happening. And we've all been through the eclipse, and this is a lunar eclipse. So a lot going on. Um, just kind of want to drop into it this time. I want to welcome you all here and super glad if you're tuning in. You can find out more about us. We'll talk at the end about where you can find out more about this stuff. But yeah, I just want to introduce and offer up the space to Phina to give us the energetic uh, report for the next couple of weeks. What's going on, Phina?
Yay, thank you. Well, when you notice, when you're talking about the full moon and the eclipses, I notice this enthusiasm arise in me. I always jot down what I channel, and I have this structure, but now I'm going to start with the two last ones. Last time, I also talked about. Where's the camera? There's the camera. I also talked about manifestation, that the power of manifestation is really strong right now.
Mhm.
And we can benefit from that. Now, I've been noticing within me, but also in the energy and also in other friends that are intuitive, that there is this power arising. We are able to connect to the energy of our most powerful selves. And with that, I don't mean like ego powerful. I don't mean the boasting, like, look at me, I'm powerful. No, I mean the heart centered, strong, grounded energy that each of us holds inside of ourselves. And this version of ourselves is actually who we are, what we are. Um, and when we get rid of all the ego stuff and the mind bits, if we could get that out the way, but also our traumas and our triggers, then we can really work with that. Now, you can work with that on multiple levels. And one thing that you can do is in meditation, visualize yourself in your authentic self, in your most strong version. See if you can connect. You can also just ask, like, hey, uh, I'm having disco behind me. You can also just ask and tune in during meditation, like, hey, what is this energy? And then really feel into it, because for everyone it's going to be different. And the more you connect to this and feel into this, the more you're going to manifest it. So that's a really beautiful way of you growing without having to put in too much work. Of course, it's going to take some other stuff as well, but making the energetical highway clear for you to grow in that direction is a very good start. And so last time I was talking about the women and the womb space, drawing a lot of power from that space. And what also came through this time was the energy of Lady Isis. It's a beautiful energy. It's a goddess energy to work with. And Alana Fairchild, she has a beautiful Isis energy activation on her YouTube. So I think we can write this down, Chief, in the credentials below, because it's a really beautiful guided meditation and activation for your soul. So that is for the women, but also the men I would love to invite to really connect to that deeper sense of strength, and to remind yourself that strength is not what we made it out to be. Also to the masculine, I really want to say, in this world we made it this you always have to be strong, you have to be like oof, super masculine. Like that is not it. Who are you, and what is your balance as well between your masculine and feminine. So this time, like these weeks, the energy is still very potent for that. You can take this with you in your daily practice and play with it and see what it will do for you. Then power struggle. I've talked about this last time. Of course, we are seeing this in the world. It's huge. But also on a personal level, you can see this. There's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anger in the energy. And what we can do is to, in personal situations, really look at shadow aspects. Shadow aspects are being enlarged in the energy right now. They will become clear, and not only the shadow aspects of others, no, also of ourselves. Like I said last time, there's always a cheeky one, and this is the cheeky one. Like, it is very apparent, but it's there for a purpose. Purpose of bringing it out and to see what you can do with it or how to work with that, you know? Don't push it away. Don't push it aside. Try to be honest with yourself and be as honest as possible. You can even sit yourself down in front of the mirror and say, like, okay, in this situation, what is my part? And the moment you really acknowledge your part, you can also look more clearly to what the others are bringing in beauty, but also in shadow aspects. So it's a really, really interesting one for our evolvement, to grow. So it's a beauty. Then the rise of old emotions. The body stores old energy, it stores trauma, it stores every single event that we have lived. They also say the body keeps the record, the body keeps track, the body knows. Even if you don't know it consciously, the body always knows and your subconscious always knows. So it is time to sit down with ourselves and to really feel our emotions, whether that's sadness, anger, fear, and to just let it be. And if it's too strong, to see what you can do with that. Maybe to do some body work. Maybe there are some beautiful body workers in your area. You can go look for someone who does TRE, for example, to release some stress from the nervous system. You can do yoga, you can go running, you can do all sorts of things. So time to sit down and to feel out what is still there. Um, and then, as the last one, in all this havoc, it is still very important to ground ourselves and to be extra nice to ourselves, because we have been growing up in a society that is very hard, and we've learned to have a hard voice, a critical voice in our minds. Be nice, be sweet to yourself. See if you can do some nice self-love rituals. Draw yourself a bath or take a hot shower, light some candles, and then maybe give yourself a hug. Do whatever is good for you to give yourself a boost for self-love. And I feel that this might be it. Let me feel into it for a moment if there's something more. Yeah, I feel this combination of grounding, looking at our shadow sides, but also being nice to ourselves, and then making space in ourselves to work with this energy of strength, it can be a really, really powerful combination.
Yeah.
That is it for me. So, Mister, I'm really curious what you have for us for the
Well,
upcoming
I really
2
liked
weeks.
some of the things you said. I mean, power struggles for sure. It's a very kind of Martian time. There's a lot of fire in the world right now, and in the astrology. And I'm glad you mentioned TRE because people should look that up. It's definitely a way of moving some of these like jangly energies that we've all been feeling, the anxiety, the fear, the overwhelm, the just the kind of hypertensive way we've been, which is all in the stars, which I'll get to. I thought that was great. And yeah, really a great time. We deserve some TLC from ourselves, but it's been really hard to get to it. There's just so much to be taken care of every day and so many things, and it's in the mind. So the mind is really hyper activated right now. And so it makes it hard to calm and slow down, but it really, like anything you can do that's on those levels of just like, okay, I'm just going to take 15 minutes, or I'm going to do once a week, I'm going to get a massage, and I'm not going to think about all of the things I got to do and all of the things that are uncertain. And the other thing that really popped into my mind as you were speaking was the idea of actually taking this time and start considering marrying yourself. Like the idea
Beautiful.
of actually treating yourself as you would a beloved, a person you really cared for and loved. I mean, there's a lot more compassion, there's a lot more support that we often give to others, but inside we have this really critical voice, the terrible housemate who lives in our head and is always just bitching us out about what we've done wrong. And you realize, oh, a spouse or a friend would never stick around if you were always that way, right? So you start saying, well, what if I was treating myself as if I was my beloved spouse? And actually, I married myself about 20 years ago, and that helped so many different ways. But it's just an idea that I want to throw out there for people to actually do a little ceremony and make the commitment to treating themselves better than they ever have before, so the relationship stays really good, because they're stuck with each other. You're stuck with yourself for life, and you might as well make it formal, right? So yeah, that was what came up when you were speaking. That's really good, because
That's a beautiful addition. I
yeah,
love it.
for the astrology, I'll switch over to the screen share for everybody here. There we go. Yeah, so here we have the full moon, October 28th, coming up tomorrow, right? And it's the other side of the eclipse that happened 2 weeks ago. And, for me personally, it's just been incredibly spiritually deep, epic, soul changing initiations. Happens different for everybody, right? Depending on your personal chart. I set these charts up are for the mundane, and it's locked into Aries, so we don't even talk about the houses and things like that, but just the mundane aspects, kind of the weather underneath. The last couple of weeks, we've been, the last couple of years, where do you want to start? But really, it's been very intense since the beginning of October, and I think we're getting tenderized, as well as being kind of pushed to do so many things, little karmic tasks, little things that need to get done constantly. Just, and there's like losing things and chasing things and getting things and making phone calls and doing all the connections. And it's all getting up in our head, because as you can see from on the full moon, we've got Mercury and Mars in Scorpio kind of hanging out with each other. They're basically conjunct, but they'll be exact actually later on that day, and on the 28th at 1 o'clock in the afternoon is 1:30 approximately is the actual eclipse, and we won't get to see it. It's a partial eclipse. It's happening down in Africa and things like that, but the energy is still there. It's kind of a conclusion to what's got initiated at the not a real conclusion, but it's because there's a continuation. It ripples on for months, but we're pretty tenderized. So we've got the sun in Scorpio, which is really an intense sign. It's intense, and the moon in Taurus, which is kind of at home in a way because it's a feminine sort of feeling sensual sign, right? So there's this tension between those two places, and because of the particular placement there at 5 degrees, it's going to be kind of an opportunity to like the universe is asking us to really look at our values. Taurus, what is really our highest values? What is the best? What is the most aesthetic? What's the most beautiful values we can have? And we got to reevaluate because it just passed over the South Node, which is our past. The moon just passed over it just a few hours before, the day before, and then it comes into this full moon. So it's kind of bringing in that past stuff, which is really, really kind of ideas and sacred cows and conditioned thoughts and conclusions that we have are being asked to be questioned. And, in the midst of all of this jangly stuff, there's this like, you're supposed to contemplate what does I really want? What is really important? What is going on inside me that's sort of from the past, that's stuck? There's these ideas that somebody handed to us that aren't really true. What's really true? So it's time to, go out and hang out with our sacred cows and see which ones are really true and which ones are not serving our highest or the highest good of all. That's what it really comes down to is what's going to serve the highest good of all. And because it's the full moon, it's going to be intense. It's going to be maybe in your face. It'll show up as some event or some experience or some relationship that's going to be confronting you with these stuck places. Then 10 hours later, I'll just do some hours forward so you can see it, but just 10 hours later at 11 o'clock at night, the moon conjuncts Jupiter at 11 degrees of Taurus. And at the same moment, Mercury and Mars conjunct each other at 11 degrees of Scorpio. This is all in the same day. So it's like, okay, what does that mean, right? So Jupiter expanding everything, moon's emotions, Mars is get it done, aggression, assertion, Mercury the mind. So you have these, the shadow and light aspects of that is we could be getting an opportunity to feel and act on our highest ideals, our highest ideas, our highest truths. Or we could be tempted to double down, to totally fire up and explode around the things we're attached to, the ideas we're attached to, the conceptions we've attached to, who's good and who's bad, what's right and what's wrong, and then going for it, Mars, right? But it's in the mind. Whereas the moon is down in Taurus, kind of asking us to consult our heart. And it's getting that boost from Jupiter, the planet of optimism, good luck, but also expanding everything. And Jupiter's retrograde. So there's it's easy to fall into the trap of expanding the wrong energy, feeding the dark wolf, if you will, feed the light wolf, feed the dark wolf. At the same time, what's really kind of confusing and difficult is that Neptune, the planet of dreams and delusions and ideals, is quincunx to the North Node, to our North Node of fate. And this has been going on, it'll go on till December. So there's this kind of almost like a confusion about what is our true path. Or there's this kind of like, wait and see, it isn't resolved yet. You want it resolved, but it isn't. You don't know exactly what the right course is. So in all of this push and shove that's going on with these oppositions, we also have to wait. patience, slow down, just let it unfold more and more and more, because there's a lot we aren't going forward yet. All these planets are still in retrograde. Saturn is just sitting at 0 degrees of Pisces. It's about ready to turn direct. So it just moves another minute or two, and then it goes direct on the 4th. So, and this is still going to sit there at 0 degrees. All of the planets are hardly moving at all, the big planets. These more personal inner planets are moving pretty good. They're going right along. So things change up there, but they don't change so much down here. So moving along we get, the next day, nothing much changes. We're starting to get this trine between Uranus and Venus, and that'll be going on. We'll talk about that in a little bit. 29th, 30th, right? Oops, we're on hours. Days. All right, here we go. So next day, the 30th, right? You see these trines kind of coming up with the moon. That's going to pass pretty fast, but it's this one between Venus and Uranus that is really pushing for change in our values. Venus, values, relationships, what we love and what we want. Uranus, change, like inevitable change, but also an innovation, like new ideas might be coming in about what we want. And it's really good to pay attention to those because they're going to come in really powerfully. The 31st, Samhain, here we are. And you can see that we still got all of these oppositions. Jupiter, opposite all of these over here, doing its expansion thing. The oppositions are kind of there, just jangling along, right? Mars still conjunct Mercury as it moves along. Finally get to November 1st. Look at all this, still more oppositions and quincunxes. It's kind of rough waters there. There's a lot of push-pull, but it's the same thing. It's Jupiter and Mars, Sun, and Mercury kind of just hitting each other. Jupiter's just expanding it all. It could be explosive, but it could also be pulling down into something more beautiful. It's like, that's why the self-care is really, really, and the contemplation, the meditation is so important, is to kind of grab that Taurus, Jupiter in Taurus, and say, that's what we really want. That's the best way to handle all of this scorpionic energy, the super intense, super, could be angry, right? Arguments, disagreements. There's a possibility of initiatives towards compassion if we feed the white wolf. Moving right along, November 2nd, things are still cranking along. Look at all this. You got the quincunxes, you got the oppositions. Finally, we get to the 3rd, and things are going to be really interesting on the 3rd. I want to show you the configuration that's coming up here. See if I can get it to line up. There we go. Oops. So if you look at this image, you'll see that there's this blue rectangle here, which is 2 trines and 2 sextiles, which are harmonics. They're actually sort of their flow with all these planets, which is the moon, Venus, Pluto, and Neptune. But they're also oppositions. So there's this box in here with these oppositions. And what that is called a mystic rectangle. And it's a really stabilizing influence. Obviously, it looks really solid. Like if you're constructing something and you build it that way, it's not going to move very much. The outside is really smooth and looks really good, but there is some tension inside. So it can be hidden tensions. At the same time, there's a faint, and if you look, you can see that there's these 3 trines right here making a grand triangle between the moon, Neptune, and Mercury, with this axis of an opposition between Uranus and Mercury. Now, this doesn't last very long exactly because the moon has to be just opposite of Pluto. But what that is kind of Let's see what the notes say. It's kind of an opportunity to upgrade our consciousness. The mind, Uranus, change, Pluto, our unconscious, the moon, our feelings, Neptune, our ideals, and Venus, our values. And you can see that there's tension there, but there's a possibility that we can actually use that to raise our vibration throughout the world. We really can do a prayer, a world prayer on November 3rd that will help us bridge through this, because this is ongoing, right? This is just a moment in time on the 3rd. Moving forward, because I want to keep this going, we get to the waning quarter moon on the 5th, and it's square the sun, square Jupiter. It's definitely got some tension to it, right? It's asking us to pay attention, to get creative around what we want, right at that quarter moon, the waning quarter moon, heading towards the full moon, the new moon that we'll get to in another week. So, and you can see we've still got plenty of work to do. The squares, the oppositions, but we're starting to get a little help. Check this out. Pluto trine Venus. Venus, our values, our relationships. Pluto's going to bring up the old stuff, the deep stuff. So it's deep work, but it's kind of helping. Depends on how much you're willing to get into it. Pluto brooks no resistance. And since Venus is trying it, it's going to be there. And if you want things to stay the same, stagnant, you'll suffer. It's time for change. We're going through a big wave of change that goes on for months, years. We're heading into the 2024 when everything starts moving forward. We're prepping. So another opportunity right there. Moving right along the 6th, we've got still got these trines going on. We've got Neptune and Mercury trine, which means they're kind of working together to imagine our ideals, or to get caught in delusions, to get caught in disinformation, to get caught in fake news, right? So watch out. It's possible that it could be difficult, but because it's a trine, it could be beneficial. We could actually pull it off and maybe even discern truth. Moving on to the 7th, still pretty jangly. I'm sorry, kids. It's just going to be a ride. And that's why that self-care is so important. Even just a few minutes of it a day really is going to make a difference on your being able to get through this as we head towards that full moon, the new moon on, I think it's on the 15th, the 12th. So coming up on this, as it swings around, you can see the moon triggers that opposition. And so there's a real opportunity for prayer, for what we want, for positivity. We still got the trine going on between Venus and Pluto, and the moon's just triggering it. Moves on to the 9th, and you look, there's Uranus opposite Mars. It's like, okay, something really is going to change just before we get to this new moon. And then finally we get up to the new moon. There we are on the 12th. We get this opposition between Uranus, the planet of radical change, innovation, imagination, creative, and also inevitable change, the unexpected, right opposite the sun, Mars. So, yep, it's a dance, right? We've got a really intense dance for the next couple of weeks. And like Phina said, it's time to practice our kindness as best we can. I think the Dalai Lama said you can always be kind. And, that doesn't mean getting rolled over, because Mars is not going to let you get rolled over. It's boundaries as well. Sometimes it's tough love, it's tough kindness. It's like, no, I'm not going to let you hurt me or hurt yourself. So, but really, because of the mental thing, we can get spun out really easily during the next couple of weeks and overwhelmed. So find your self-care practices. If you haven't got one, get one. It's time. You're going to need it, because this doesn't just end or ease off. It's setting us up. It's purifying us. It's actually a kind of crucible that we're in right now for the next number of months till we get to 2024. And there's no release, because it's always co-emergent. This can be looked at as a tragic, difficult time, and it is. But it also has this energy of moving us out of a really stuck situations. You can see in the world that just the news, there's things that have been brewing and bubbling and fermenting and stuck for decades, for years, that are now bursting, and it's horrific. But it's also, there's the change. Things are changing. It's causing a back reaction that will take its time to move forward. We'll be planting seeds right now for harmony and peace in the future. How we react to this. Are we still creating more separation, more enemies? Or are we saying, wait a minute, this is not the world we want to live in? So it's really this opportunity for those of us, especially that want a better world, that are working towards a better life, to really make a difference through our actions in the small, in the now, in our lives, and not trying to fix the big things that we can't have influence on. Clean up your own room, clean up your own life, clean up the things that you haven't been taking care of, the things that are stagnant in your life, because you're going to need that space, and you're going to need that abundance of clarity later on. That pretty much is it. That gets us all the way to the new moon. So many things going on. It's impossible to cover it all. So when we get done with this, please feel free to reach out to our websites, and we'll post those at the bottom. And I love doing readings for people around their own personal birth charts, because that's really where the rubber hits the road as far as getting insights into what's going on in your life, how to navigate it, what the overall arc of the story is, what are the original karmic cards that you're dealt, progress charts, like what's going on right now. There's all sorts of ways of using these maps beyond just looking at the mundane, which I really think only gives us like 50% of the story, if even that. There really is a lot going on in our personal aspects that inform and influence how we're going to experience all this stuff. But I love doing these mundane reports. And so that's it for me, for sure.
And you're very good at it. I always love to listen to you, because as a friend, he's always playing with my charts. He's like, I got something new.
Oh yeah, I can't help
With
myself.
human design, or maybe it's astrology. And I love listening to you, and it's so correct, and like you say, it helps me navigate. And what I also loved in your reading just now was that you were mentioning which wolf to feed. I think that is a really important one, inside ourselves, but also worldwide. Like, are we still going to, like you said, choose rage and opposition, or are we gonna come to healthy boundaries and love? So that's a big challenge, but also a beautiful challenge. And everything that we change in our own inner world, we will also see change on the outside.
Yeah, as
So
within,
that
so
is,
without. It's just one of the
yeah,
natural laws of the universe,
it,
right?
it's
And this is
really
why
it's really
astrology
like
works,
that.
because so without as within, right? And
Yeah.
as above, so below. So there's a
Yeah.
reflection and a mirroring of happening. That's why the planets, even though they're not, pulling on us it
Mhm.
directly, it's not gravity, it's not photons, it's actually just because everything's connected. And so you look
Yeah.
up to the stars to see, okay, what's the bigger picture going on here? And how is it affecting my particular system, right? Yeah, I love using these maps. I'm just a geek with it. It's human
Yeah.
design, the gene keys,
Well, it's so
astrology.
lovely.
Yeah,
It's so lovely to see you so enthusiastic, and it's really your passion. And I loved that you brought up initiations as well, because that is a word or something that I forgot. I've been doing these weeks because the energy is so potent, activations with myself, but also initiation for a friend. And I've noticed that um, in the lines of energy work, if you would love for me to check out with you what is that potent energy that is inside you, where you can meditate on, then connect to me, because I can feel that out. I can bring you in connection with that, and to hold an initiation for yourself, because everyone has that, strong,
yeah,
healthy, powerful self. So yeah,
yeah.
that's what
Fina's
I wanted to
amazing.
add.
Fina's amazing at the insights that she can just pull out really quickly that really help get a perspective on what's going on from the big
Mm.
picture down into the self. And so she's so insightful. It's always a pleasure to work with
Thank
her.
you, sweetie.
Yeah. And the way the two readings always line up and speak to each
Mm.
other and speak of the same thing. It's an affirmation for sure.
Yeah, that's why I work with you. You're not only a great friend, but also the stuff that we bring, it seems to match one on one,
Yeah.
and that is beautiful.
I can't wait till we
Mm.
get to teach classes together and hold workshops and
Me
because
too.
we're here to inspire people. We're here to help inspire people to bring on the world we want to live in instead of the one we
Mm.
don't want to live in. It's a
Yeah,
time for us all to show up. So we want to do our part and warm up these with our enthusiasm and our passion
yeah.
for this stuff.
And also with our honesty, because the things that we are talking about and the energies that we are talking about, we are also moving through this. It's not like we are sitting here and saying like, "Oh, you need to work through this." No, we are
Right.
there with you.
Yeah, this comes directly from my personal life. It's been such an
Yeah.
intense eclipse season, the most intense of my life, to tell you the truth that
Mm.
I can recall. And so seeing it in the stars, I'm like, okay, oh, it's all part of a plan. It's all part of a pattern that's happening. It's
Yeah.
not personal. It's not the universe against me, right? It's trying to work with me and offer me these experiences. And somehow it's with the astrology and with your readings, it helps support me keeping my balance and being okay with everything that keeps coming because it keeps coming and big.
Mm.
And so it keeps me out of overwhelm and trying to
Yeah.
like fight against it more like, okay, I'm just going to do the Aikido with it of just like take the energy and keep moving it, let it move. Don't fight it. Don't get in the way of it. You'll get run over because it is really intense right now.
It is. And I want to add to that even if you do have moments where you're like, oh, life is totally against me, that is human nature as well. As
Reach out
long
for
as you
support.
can,
The thing
yeah,
is,
reach out for
it
support,
is
exactly.
overwhelming
And
if you're alone, if you don't
mm,
have somebody to talk to, if you don't have support, if you don't have somebody who can see you. And so that's
yeah,
such an essential human thing that we really do are suffering from a lot of separation. I've done 20 years of relationship and intimacy counseling with people, and 90% of what I offered was my presence to listen and
mm,
support them and share their experience. So they didn't feel alone, and their inner strength would just come up. They just needed somebody to be there with them, rather than I'm all
Exactly.
alone. I don't know what to do. Everything's seems out of control. It's like
Yeah.
there's something wrong with me, blah, 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 right? We all have these voices in our head that we talked
Mm-hmm.
about, that you need someone to mirror back and hold the space with you. And then your own inner strength, because we all just keep stepping forward, whether we like it or not. We're just paddling up this river, climbing this mountain together. So
Mm-hmm.
what did Ram Dass say? We're all
Exactly.
just seeing each other home. So
When
that's,
when you listen to someone with your presence and you give them the space to just be and to voice this, or you give yourself the space to write it out, you quiet down your mind, and then your soul gets more space to shine. So you move back to your inner power. It's
yeah,
beautiful
you got
how
to
you
get the
just
poison
phrase
out
that.
sometimes. But
Mm-hmm.
I never let people just rave on and play the victim. It's always coming
Mm-hmm.
back to, so what are you going to do about it? Or how are you participating in creating this? And how can you
Yeah.
participate in uncreating it? If it's
Yeah.
something you don't want in your life, well, you're participating in having that happen. So there's always ways
Yeah.
out. And sometimes you just need a fresh pair of eyes or a fresh heart to kind of go, hey, try this. Have you thought of
Yeah.
this? Have you done that? Why haven't you done that? Because sometimes there's a part of us that just doesn't want to change. So yeah, it's
True.
a lot
Look
going
at
on.
the victim inside of ourselves and see
Yeah.
how we can step up.
Yeah. I could talk for days about the victim triangle, the low drama
Me
triangle.
too.
We'll save it for a
And we
workshop.
did.
We will someday. All right, folks. I think that's it. Yeah.
I feel this is a beautiful roundup.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Well, we'll see you all in 2 weeks. Look for my report. I should have another one out at the waning quarter. I'll fill in a lot of the details. Also, I'm going to have this report the first week up to from the 28th till the 5th. I will have written out and put on my Instagram and my on my Facebook. And so look for that there if you want to go back over this stuff and or look at the details written. And find Phina. She's the
Here,
ace.
here.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Thanks,
you can take a
everybody.
look at my website,
Yeah.
and everything is there, from readings to energy work to NVC listening sessions, so you can find whatever. Um, see you next time.
See you
And
next
thank you,
time.
Shi, for bringing your knowledge and sharing this beautiful space.
Yeah.
I loved it
Super,
again.
super love it. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
Phina. Bye.
Okay. Mwah.
Mwah.
Ciao.